very good. Good morning. It's just a couple minutes after 10 o'clock on Sunday. Doing another town hall. It's being recorded, hopefully to be played back on the website. So the intent is just for me to be available. There may be another board member or two joining me. I never know. But be available to answer questions and hear your comments or input or whatever it is that's on your mind. I don't expect that I'm going to divulge anything earth-shattering or anything else, but certainly I can give you some insight as to, I don't know, a variety of things, things that the board discussed or whatever, why we went the way we did or whatever. I will, I try not to speak on behalf of the entire board. This is just me, and I can give you my opinion. I can tell you, some of the rationale behind some of the decisions, though. So with that, please, who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Good.
Because I'm looking out the window here. We have just arrived because we're snowbirds. There are 8 wooden boxes out there in the grass. What are they?
Horseshoe pits.
Oh, you're kidding.
It's a backstop for a horseshoe pit.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, the first question's an easy one. Please, anyone else?
I have a question about the membership and who can use facilities, and I had read that you can actually sign to have people come. We actually bought lots for our kids because in the past we were told that unless you were a member that was, with the card, when we used to have cards, that they were the only people who could use the facilities. So when did that change? Or is this not a change and we just were misinformed?
Well, no, it's changed a couple of times. A lot of the rules since the new general manager got here, we've changed a number of the rules, and that was one of them. So that's been about 2 years now, but I think it changed again last year, if I remember right. So just a brief history. When the board was first considering building a new pool, the membership had a concern about who gets to use the pool, and they were afraid that the association wouldn't manage the situation correctly, and we would let just about anybody in, and people that were non-members would come in with nothing to lose and kind of run the place down. And that was a major concern, and that was a hurdle we had to get over. A lot of the rules really existed for the old pool. We just never really enforced them because it was an old pool that it didn't draw much attention, and it didn't get a lot of, I don't want to say get a lot of use, it didn't get as much use. So when we opened up this pool, a lot of those rules that weren't enforced were enforced because we were concerned about the members' comments. So, we've made some changes, and it's all been for trying to protect the assets and be more, a little bit more conservative and thoughtful of people, husband and wife, or just one or the other comes in and uses the facility, and they're overrun by a gang of people that are under, came in under one member's membership. Something else?
Well, no, I was just going to add to that. I've been a pool employee, so I can tell you if your property is in your children's names and they're not listed as dependents, but as owners, then they would receive a card, and you just.
We don't do cards
anymore.
Or sorry, I mean,
Yeah.
on the in the computer system, they would be listed as owner, and then they are the owner. So if that hasn't been put in place, you can just do that through the office.
Yeah, it's just that we have 11 lots total, so we pay a lot.
Yeah.
And we use the facilities maybe twice a year, but we did that so that they could come, and I don't know,
Do you have it, just out of curiosity, you don't have 11 kids, do you? Okay, I just,
No, we own Maplewood Circle probably, we have 7 lots in a row right there.
oh, nice.
On the back side, and then I have 2 over here by the golf course, and then 2 more out, what was it, off of, Snow Ridge, I think it is.
It's kind of secluded.
Well, I was planning on building some houses on there, and, trying to sell them.
Right.
but we just did that so that they could use the facilities, and then I read that online, that you can just sign for them to use it, so I didn't know that you could do that.
You can,
Yeah,
So-
if they're 16 and, or 18 and under, shoot, now I'm not sure which it is, but then then you can sponsor them, but if they're over 18, they can, come on their own as your dependent. Just check at the office when you go, and they'll
It
have,
doesn't matter where they already have, it's already in their name, so
Yeah, we bought them lots, so they're own.
we try to play by the rules.
Yeah.
and that's appreciated.
Yeah.
And part of it is, so we have so many rules and they change because there's so many people. I don't want to say there's so many people, there's a few people that abuse the rules or try to find ways around the rules, so then you make more rules so that that doesn't happen. So you end up making rules to address such a small instance of problems and such, minute things. And there's never such thing as a foolproof rule or law or anything else, but
What's up with the rule about advertising for your business? Did you guys ever do anything about that?
so when you're talking about advertising, you're just talking about like a sign in front of the house or something. So the restrictive covenants says no businesses, and generally the history of that, because it's in our restrictive covenants, it's pretty much boilerplate language that a lot of associations use. And the original intent, as I've been told, is that, so when you have a residential community, you want it to look residential. There's no commercial buildings, there's no houses that look like commercial buildings, there's no signage. You drive down the street and it looks residential. It feels, everything about it is residential. And so there's always been a sign ordinance, and we've been fairly good about following up on that. But then again, our restrictive covenants only gives us such limited ability to enforce. I mean, if we tell you that, you've got a sign that's not compliant with the association rules, we can suspend your membership, which means you can't use the pool and you can't vote, but we can only do that for 30 days, so we're gonna meet, we don't even meet every 30 days. So how do you enforce those things? It's difficult, but yeah, the idea is to be commercial, or to be residential.
Is that the same way with like hunting in Lakes of North? Is there no hunting at all,
No,
or is there some hunting?
There's hunting allowed, as I understand it. It's within, you can't fire a firearm within, 500 feet of a building or something. I mean, there's rules, but there is hunting on the property. A lot of people don't like it, but. Carl?
The way those restrictive covenants are usually enforced is through litigation. And the thing is, as that paper I did for you,
Right.
is we have a doctrine of waiver. And there are some of our restrictive covenants, of the business one, that has been through custom over a long period of time, kind of fashioned differently than, or maybe less stringently than the actual restrictive covenant is. And so if you got into a dispute with somebody, the court would be obligated to acknowledge the custom and what in fact had been done in here. So, the restrictive covenants are somewhat, designed, in that fashion too. But I mean, you can read some really interesting cases, bitter fights with, associations and some of their members, to the point where they built something that wasn't, supposed to be able to be built, and the court made them tear it down. So it can be stringent, but, hopefully, we don't wanna go that route.
Right. I mean, we were talking earlier how things have changed so much over the years and everything else, and I think there used to be more of a spirit of cooperation among the association, and over the years, particularly recent years, I think that's kind of deteriorated. But
How were you able to get a quorum to pass the raising our membership? How did that work?
so, I'm not sure how up to date you are. So last year, we had a motion or a proposal, the board had a proposal for raising the rates, $125 for a primary lot and $62.50 for a secondary lot, and that failed. So we just proposed a new one for basically half that, $65 for primary lot, and we, when is the first meeting on that? It's like July 9th will be the first vote on that, or see if we have a quorum then.
Yeah, I thought it already passed.
Nope,
How did it pass?
you still have time to vote yes.
No, we're all for it. We don't, it's not that, it's just, we want to see some stuff change if we do pass it, Like nobody working at the clubhouses at Pencil Lake. We were down there, what was it, 3 weeks ago, and there was a pontoon out on the boat, out on the water. Thinking, how the heck did they get a gas-powered pontoon boat out there? So I don't know, is the Pencil Lake actually part of the lakes of the north?
It is.
Is it?
Yes.
I don't know how they were able to get that out there.
Is that against the rules?
Yeah. Well, it
Okay.
says no gas powered
Okay.
vehicles on the water.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that we are where we are, but
What about like cutting the grass down around the roads? You guys up to doing that anymore or no?
so we're basically down to half of the maintenance crew that we used to have here. So it's kind of,
Isn't that the county should be taking care of it, the county roads?
the roads are, I don't know about that's a good question. I'm gonna find an answer on that, because I don't know whether,
They
cutting
cut
grass.
roads, they should be cutting grass at least once a year. I mean, it would look so much better if the grass was
Yeah.
cut down,
I know,
I mean, I do all of ours down Sprucedale, Maplewood Circle, and ours looks really good, but when you drive around some of these roads and the grass is knee high, I think, it looks terrible.
Yeah. yeah, I will get a better answer on that, because I don't know myself, and so when I don't know, I'll publish a letter in a few days that has the answers on it. So,
And do you do these meetings by yourself, or does the manager come down with you sometimes?
usually not, Jeff. So I invite the board, anyone that wants to show up from the board. And I've had, Donna has participated before, and so has Richard Brew. Some of the other board members don't live, here at Lakes of the North, and some are just busy. They're always invited, as long as we don't have more than 4, so we don't have a quorum here. They're always invited. There's nothing secret or exclusive about the meetings. It's just, so with COVID and everything else, we got into virtual meetings, board meetings, and then when we came back, there was a debate on whether we wanted to stay virtual, and at the last board meeting, they passed a proposal that you can participate through Zoom as a board member. You don't have to be present. So I assume more and more we're going to be getting into virtual. Board meetings aren't necessarily a good way of, board meetings are intended to be a meeting of the board. So the public's invited to listen. There's a public comments section where they can make comments about agenda items, but it's not a question and answer. There's no relationship really there. I believe in the town halls. I like the one-on-one. I like, you got a question or a concern or something, let's talk about it. I mean, I don't know how else we as a board can do our job effectively if we're not communicating well.
So did you get all the stuff straight around where you're having all the problems at the board meetings?
Are you referring to anything in specific? I mean, go
It's
ahead.
the stuff that you read,
I'm sorry?
It sounds like it's pretty intense from what, reading comments about what happened.
So I'll be the first to admit that I don't do the best job at holding meetings as far as Robert's rules and everything. So that's why I asked the board that we bring on a parliamentarian to help me with the rules. I like, so prior to me being president, a lot of the other presidents felt that they shouldn't speak because of their position. They might have an influence over the rest of the board. So they didn't speak much on subjects, and they didn't vote, or only voted when to break a tie. I don't see it that way. I was first elected by the people to be on the board to represent them. So whatever position I hold on the board, I still feel an obligation to represent the people that voted for me. So I said from the beginning that I will voice my opinion and I will vote on every vote, but I'll vote last so that nobody can accuse me of having influence or whatever. So yeah, I do things a little bit differently, but I'm not very good at the parliamentarian kind of stuff in the board meeting, so I asked that we have a parliamentarian. I like to involve myself in the discussion and listen to what's being said and the points being made, rather than worry about parliamentarian procedure.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So are they checking you on it or something?
Yeah, I mean, people call me out and stuff, but, some of the contention, some of it I think is due to people not being prepared for the board meetings and not reading the material and not asking questions ahead of time. But another part of it, it's just healthy. I mean, whether you call it contentious or not, healthy debate is good, and we want the membership to understand that we're not all just lined up ducks in a row and saying and doing the same thing. Certainly they have to know that, there's 9 people on the board. We're all coming at it from different angles, and that should be expressed. I mean, that's the way we represent the majority.
I would just like to say I couldn't agree with you more that sunshine is always the best thing, and I read those Facebook entries, and a lot of it is just misunderstanding what's happening, either that or misinformation. And so the more that you and the board are able to explain to people and in the different mechanisms that you're using, the better it is. And I think you're doing a great job doing that.
Well, thank you. And I'm always open for suggestions. If there's something that I or board members can do better, you know, please, I make my email address, I publish that in everything that I do and write so that people feel comfortable getting in touch with me. And for the most part, I'll answer most emails within 24 hours. That's my goal. Sometimes it takes me longer because either I'm researching something or I'm just busy. But I try to answer all emails within 24 hours. So feel free.
So how many board members actually live in Lakes of the North?
That's a good question. So Richard Brew does not. Donna does not, but she's local. Jennifer does. Raj does not. Who else is on the board? Tracy is in Lakes of the North. Brenda is in Lakes of the North. I'm in Lakes of the North.
You said
Who am I
Jennifer.
missing?
Did you say Jennifer? You did.
I did.
Okay.
Michael Coles is not. I think I got everybody. So
What about the manager? Does he live in Lakes of the North?
he does not. And I can tell you that when he was hired, he looked extensively in Lakes of the North. At the time, there were only about 5 houses on the market. He found 3 of them to be worth looking at. He actually, he actually had an offer on one and was negotiating on it, and then just reached a point where things went south in a hurry. And
Now, how much time does he actually spend here in Lakes of the North? Every day?
yeah, I mean, he keeps flexible hours, but yeah, you know, it's over 40 hours. And yeah, if he's not on vacation or, you know, sick or something, I don't know that he's ever been sick, but yeah, he's here all the time, and he makes the rounds. You know, he spends some time at settings and you know, he's around the association. He's very hands-on.
Now, did they move the Lakes of the North management over here then completely?
Yes. So the 3 rooms behind you are now the management office, and we sold the other building.
How did you? And what are they gonna do with that one?
Well, that's a good question. That everything that we're hearing about it is that it's uninhabitable, and any renovation costs would exceed the cost of building something. So, I mean, you know, in a perfect world, I'd like to see a new facility, a new building, even if it was a pole building. You know, they build those out real nice. You insulate them, you heat them, whatever. But I'm a real advocate for having a community room, community center. You know, so in last year's annual meeting, Carl made a point that just has resonated with me ever since. He talked about community and community center and the sense of community, and that just, to me, it really resonated that I know things are different now than they used to be as far as community, but if we don't have gathering places, if we don't have reasons to get together, we won't. And I think the association needs the facilities to have gatherings, and you know, whether it's board meetings the way we used to have them, where there'd be 40 people in the audience or whatever, or community dinners or breakfast or whatever. I just think we need the facility, and hopefully it'll populate, you know, encourage people to participate.
Yeah, I think that that would be really helpful, because, I mean, we used to have, board meetings with 50, 60 people there.
Right.
And we had, concerts, Friend of the Music concerts, where, it was standing room. In other words, all those chairs in there, they had the whole, however many that is. And, I remember that they used to have, dinners over there, and, there was a chili, contest at one point where, all these people made different
Yeah.
kinds of chili, and they came in, and I mean, it just, was, really, encouraged the community, spirit. And of course, you say things have changed. Well, yes, they've changed, because the people of my age or so on, I mean, they were all retired or dead. And, so you have the new people coming in, and, so it's a little different, but I don't see why you can't generate the same feeling of community.
If we don't have it, we can't do it.
Right.
And I agree with you, that the newer people coming in weren't in the community when we had those things, so they haven't experienced it and they haven't grown with it. So they don't even know what they're missing. And yeah, those were some nice times. I got here at the tail end of that, but I remember a lot of that, and it was encouraging. Yes, So what's going to happen with that building? I don't think, so it's been identified as uninhabitable and too expensive to renovate that and make it usable. So we've got a new insurance provider, and they're going to probably force our hand to do something with it. Either we're going to end up spending a lot of money putting a fence around it so that, you know, to protect the public, or we're going to have to find the money, which we don't have right now, to take it down, you know, but best answer I can give you at this point.
Has the board seriously looked into renovating part of it? In other words, the pool area, the lockers and all that sort of thing, wall that off and just use the kitchen and the community's meeting room?
So the city has, or the township has told us that if we do anything at all to that building, then whatever part remains, whatever part we're building on, has to be to current code. And at this point, unless we went in there and took core samples, there's a question whether the foundation is even to current code. So, you know, back when we were building this building, I was on the board then, and DK Design was in charge of, they're who we commissioned to have the building built. I asked them at a board meeting if they would do a study of that building so that we knew the possibilities. And they did, and they gave a full report to the board. I mean, it was a presentation at a board meeting, excuse me. And essentially what he said is, you could probably fix this and make it usable. Not sure how many years you're gonna buy by doing that, but it's like throwing good money after bad. And that was 8 years ago. Dave, I think you were on the board at the time.
Plumbing's been disconnected in there, and, yeah, it's been pretty much demolished already, except it's still there.
And have you talked to a contractor about taking it down?
The last I knew, we had unofficial estimates, if we allowed and the fire department to use it as a practice facility, We would still have to get rid of the rubble, and my understanding is it was around $40,000 or something. And then just to take it down was, 60 or better.
My experience with the fire department going through and burning, it makes it worse.
Oh,
Yeah, cause you get all that stuff charred and then it's harder to get rid of the stuff.
Okay.
It's just better to have somebody come take it down.
What's been any of the estimates about building onto here? That was brought up, being, discussed on building this.
So, I mean, we haven't seriously considered that. There's been some talk about it. The problem is, at this point in time, we don't have money, we don't have money to maintain what we have. Down the road, that would be, there's a couple of proposals that have been considered. One is replacing the structure at Lake Harold with a new structure that would have a banquet facility or a community center where it could overlook the lake. And I think the proposal on that one was the management offices would be there. That was one proposal that was brought forward a couple of years ago, and I mean, it's still basically on the table. And the other one is, just doing something right off here. Move or take down the garage that's just north of here, whatever, just on the other side of that wall, and building something right there.
A while ago, they were talking about the real estate office. And there was a proposal that real estate office was making, but we want to, I can't remember the amount of years, or a 3 or 5 year contract.
3.
A 3-year contract, so that's gotta be up pretty soon.
Yeah, it was just renewed in this last January, I believe, January 1st, I think it was
And for
renewed.
what, 3 more?
Yes. Well, no, I take that back. I think they didn't want to sign a 3-year agreement this time. I think it's year by year now. I could be mistaken. Writing it down.
What, did you have some idea for
Yeah.
real estate?
Yeah, because it's big enough, because the real estate office, when you walk into it now, it's not much. However, there's a garage behind it.
Right.
They could be
Is this-
2 or 3 offices or whatever you want to put on there, and it also could be built onto. You're dealing, I better watch that land there is, what, community
Yes.
or something like that, so
Right.
we would have to, you know more about this, and would you have to have a vote of everybody? But you already have an existing place there.
No, you don't have to vote on it. That would be a board decision.
That would be okay, and I wasn't sure of that. However, it's right there. Listen, I'm gonna blow the people there at the airport, bless their souls, they make some great stuff. I can still remember Ron, remember?
Yep.
Going back many years ago, giving Lakes of the North a $12,000 or $14,000 check is because after the state made the airport better, the runway better on that, and they said that they would cover half of the expense or all the other expense that the state wouldn't do it. So you gotta see, these people know what they're doing.
Right.
And that being right on the airport, I'm sure that that committee, if there is a committee,
There is.
would have an awful lot to say. So there, you come right in, they built this beautiful sign there, you're right across the street from the golf course. And to me, that'd be something that's a good presentation. And also, when these people come in and they see the fire department, well, that's a good say-so. But that's why I was wondering if they had gone any farther on that.
No, I mean, the reason why moving into this facility was decided on versus any of the other options, and that was one of them, is the old real estate office, or the current real estate office, was simply cost. It was simply easier and less expensive to use these three than renovate that. You know, we wouldn't have had the, it just would have cost too much more. This was, you know, basically move some equipment out of those 3 rooms and move the office in. The building's already being heated and cooled, and you know, the electricity and everything else. There was just really a minimum of expense involved in here.
So I read online that the old office sold for $190,000. Do I have that correct?
No.
What was the sale price?
I believe it was 100,000. It was close to 100,000 one way or another. Actually, I think it may have been 110. I think it was just slightly over 100.
So is that money earmarked for something particular?
No, that went into capital.
Okay.
So I think, you know, so it's nothing special, but we did, if you heard or watched the last board meeting, the board did approve some capital expenses just recently, that those funds were helpful in.
So are they planning on doing a special assessment?
Not at this point. So what we did is we started, there's been a lot of talk over the last couple of years about surveys. Why don't we survey the people, find out what the people want? So we actually tried to do that. We sent out 2 surveys, and part of the problem with doing a survey is people think or want to believe that they're actually voting on something when they answer a survey. So now when you publish the results, they're saying, well, this came out number 1, this is what they ought to be working on. Well, no, it was to get a flavor for what's important to people and everything. So we're such a strange organization when you look at it. You know, you've got 5,000 members, and you have, you know, 10% of them vote, you know, on anything. And so many people that are owners don't live here, and it's hard to represent everyone's interest because not everyone participates. And I don't know what that means. You can interpret the lack of participation in a lot of different ways. Either they're happy with the way things are going, and so they don't feel a need to participate, or they're disgusted, or they just don't care, or they don't even know they own the lot. I don't know, you know. So the survey, it was a guide, but in the survey we asked specifically, would you be in favor of, you know, if we did an assessment increase, because we know we need the assessment increase, would you also be in favor of a special assessment at the same time? And that was overwhelmingly no. You know, so just thought that's something we need to give up on.
So if you lower the association fee that you were gonna go from 125 down to 65, is that gonna make it so you have enough money to do what you gotta do?
No, we absolutely don't. So let me give you a brief history of this happening. I might not have all the years right. I think it was around 2016 that the board proposed an increase of, I believe it was $125 per primary and half that for secondary. And that proposal failed. So the next year the board cut it in half and added on a special assessment of $18 for the pool loan. And that was voted on and that passed. Okay, so if 5 or 6 years ago, we cut our proposal in half, it wasn't because we didn't need the original 125. It's like, at that point, it was, what can we get passed? Because we need money desperately. We're in the same situation now, so we couldn't get the 125 passed. So in an 8-year period, we've cut in half what we really need twice. And when you think about it, last year when we proposed $125 for a primary lot, that was before inflation and everything else. That was, the idea there was that was going to keep our head above water. Since then, we've got inflation and gas prices and everything costs more, and we cut our ask in half. It's not going to cover it. I won't lie to you. I won't pretend that it will. It will not cover it. We're going after what we hope we think we can get past, not what we need.
So is the plan on maybe doing a special assessment to get more money?
No, the thinking would be that we would do another, let's see how we make it through the next year, if this passes, and then probably do another proposal for an assessment increase of X amount of dollars.
I think the program that maybe Jeff's doing or the board of letting the members see, here's what we're missing, and if we get to this point, then we will add. In other words, there's a benefit that then we'll be able to do this, and then we'll be able to do that, so that it kind of identifies with those things. And to keep that going on an ongoing basis, I think is a good point. And I would keep that going, and I would nail that in there, in that, because of fund deficiency, we were unable to do such and such that really should be done. And rather than just every once in a while saying, hey, we need an increase and here's why. But it has people looking ahead and saying, well, okay, if we pay a little more, then we're gonna have more hours at the pool, or we're gonna have, what other benefits there are.
Yeah. See, at this point, where we are today is we can't promise anything. If this passes, what will you have more of? I'm sorry, but probably not much, if anything. I mean, because this isn't even enough to help us get through the current.
Well, there was some benefit of, this was repaired, or that was replaced, or.
Right, and I think in the last board meeting, so some of this, you can have a 5-year plan, you can have all these plans and everything, but there's always things that happen. A week ago, we had the big windstorm. We've been having electrical problems at settings in the golf course ever since. Not sure if there was a lightning strike, not sure what caused the electrical problems, because the lines feeding everything at that point are underground, from my understanding. But there's a problem, and so we had a problem with the water pumps for the sprinkler system, and that whole system for the golf course. We were probably a day away from sending, and when I say we, I mean Jeff and his crew, was probably a day away from sending the maintenance guys out there with fire hoses to water the greens, because it just doesn't take long in this kind of heat, this kind of weather, to lose the golf course. You lose the golf course, you're losing revenue at settings too. And we just keep having so many of these things happen. We've had a number of issues here with the pool. We know that the slide's gonna have to be replaced. We found that we've got a problem with the lighting in the pool area. From the humidity, it's getting corroded. There's nothing under warranty anymore. We had to replace pumps, just 15 months ago or something. There's all these things, so here's the problem. I hate to tell people that this is what I think you're gonna get if you pass this is what I think we can do, because then there's always these things that come up and you don't do what you said, and then everybody calls you a liar. You know, you're lying to us, you're being dishonest, you're not being transparent, we didn't know about this, you know, and now you're in worse shape for sharing information than you would if you didn't share information. And it's not that nobody wants to share information, it's a matter of things change and we have to be fluid, and I think Jeff and his staff, for what they have to work with, does a fantastic job of maintaining things and being able to switch on a dime on how they handle things and how they move people around. You know, I don't know what else I can say.
So the $65 we get it passed will be enough to get you through the year, or no?
Pending any emergencies, it should help us get through the year. I mean, it'll help. I can't predict what's gonna happen. I don't think we're gonna be in a position, at least, so we're really talking about 2023, we're talking about next year. So I don't think we're gonna be in a position where we have to borrow money. I'm hoping not, but so in the next board meeting, in the July board meeting, I don't have a proposal other than I'm gonna ask the board, so here's some information that isn't out there yet. I feel I need to ask the board for a plan B if this assessment increase doesn't get approved. And a plan B, if I look at it, so where can we get additional income? So there's existing programs like the oil and gas program. Can we ask them to pump more? I don't know, maybe we can. There's the forestry program. Can we ask them to move the program ahead and cut more trees? You know, I don't know, do I want more trees cut faster? You know, personally, I don't think I do, but it's something we have to look at for income. And then there's new technology, you know? I mean, I wouldn't be a proponent of putting up windmills, but there is the idea of solar farms. You know, it would take down a lot of trees, but it would bring in some revenue. If we're gonna keep this place running, we have to find income streams. And they're gonna have to be big income streams if nobody wants to vote for an increase. So, you know, do we cut out, you know, 100 acres of trees and put up solar panels? I don't know. It's something we have to look at. We need a plan B because I don't know that this is gonna pass. Yes,
Yeah, to change the subject,
please.
the tree impingement on the flight path over at the airport. As I understand that you're talking about cutting the trees and just leaving them there.
So it depends. So this is Jeff and his crew again. He has talked to the people that harvest our trees, that does our forestry program. He has talked to them and hasn't gotten a firm commitment from them yet whether they would cut them and take them.
That is a terrible idea. That is just, it would decimate that area up there. I mean, I don't think that should be a non-starter. First of all, I think you can address the thing with the idea with the state that, hey, we don't have to do anything. And if we don't, and you want to withdraw the state support of the airport, fine. But we were a private airport before, and we could be a private airport again. Not that we wanna do that, but I mean, I would push back to the state to begin with and say, hey, we don't have to do anything, you're coming in here and tell us what we have to do, we don't have to do anything. What I would suggest, the way that the